Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Crawley Town Supporters Alliance Simply Reds podcast. My name is Reuben and I'm joined by Louie. You alright, Louie?
Good evening and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you listen. Hello, Reuben. How are you?
Yeah, not doing too badly, thanks. And we're joined by Luke again. You alright, Luke?
Hi, mate. Yeah, all good. Well, I say all good, but let's be honest, we're not all good. But it's a bit of an indifferent feeling at the moment. First pod of the new season, post first game of the season, and yeah, might as well be insert any pod from 6 months ago. I think pretty much right now. Save ourselves an hour.
Yeah. So let's just briefly talk about Grimsby. We lost 3-0, we were dreadful, and that's it. Should we move on to Newport?
Yep. Yeah,
Yes,
excellent.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
Newport County next, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited about the first game of the new season coming up.
Still finished pre-season, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was just a pre-season game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We certainly played like it was. We might as well dissect it a little bit. We were desperately poor, and even after the first 4 or 5 minutes, I messaged you both like, "This is so poor. Like, what's going on?" Like, we looked so off the pace, and we looked unfit. That was the worrying thing. Like, physically, we just looked. It was like men against boys. It was really worrying, and the midfield, where I thought we'd be quite strong in terms of just like the technical quality that we might have. The ball, it was like watching like Sabutio, the ball just pinging off players' legs. I mean, I think that one bit, that was a moment halfway through the first half where Jay Williams sort of tried to hook a pass down the wing, and it sort of ended up, he just completely miskicks it, ended up nearly going out for a corner, completely the opposite way to where he intended. And it was like, that kind of just summed it up in terms of the midfield and just the lack of technical quality that we showed. And yeah, it was just it was difficult to watch. You can kind of accept losing if the performance is there, especially on the opening day. You know, things don't always click, but that looks a million miles away from being anywhere near good enough. And it was worrying.
Yeah. So just for those who weren't aware, we lost 3-0 to a controversial penalty in the 10th minute, then 2 other goals in the 30th and 64th minute. Harry Forster got injured, and our goalkeeper couldn't even play the Crawley top. So
just one normal week of Crawley. I say it every time.
Luke, are there any positives we could take from that game?
It was sunny.
Yeah.
The away fans might have got a nice tan. No, there isn't. It's impossible to joke about. Look, I'm not gonna. The kit did look good. Doesn't mean a whole lot right now, though, does it? It doesn't give us any points on the board. No, there wasn't. I actually up until about 15 minutes ago thought it was a controversial penalty, and then I saw a couple of angles from behind the goal, and looking back at it, it looked like he really was out of control the way he went into that challenge to try and get the ball. The goalkeeper almost turned into it with his back. So I'm sort of looking at it now thinking I'm not surprised the linesman gave that as a penalty, because he did look at a slightly reckless manoeuvre into the challenge. Although the ball he did sort of win the ball, he was equally not in control, I don't think. So I don't know. I wasn't. The thing was 3-0 sort of flattered us. It could have been 6 or 7, and I think we should be quite glad that Grimsby were generous on the day and missing chance after chance. I think that's the only positive we can take, that it wasn't worse than 3. It's a really poor start to the season. One of the things I said coming into this season was I'm not gonna call out I don't want to pinpoint individual players. We're a small club and we're going into a new era now. It's time for everyone to stick together. The lack of physicality in the team was a big thing for me on Saturday, which we know we've never had big players in our squad since pretty much Scott, since sort of Wagme took over, really sort of 3 years ago. So, but yeah, the lack of physicality on Saturday, we were bullied in every department. We were second, third best. You know, it was just not a good day at the office, and in a way, you never want it to happen at any day. But get out of the way first day of the season. Hopefully, it's not a sign of things to come, because we can't afford for that to happen week in, week out. It was like watching us under Rob Elliott between about December and March. It was turgid stuff. very un-Scott Lindsay performance. A very unperformance of some of those players we've come to know can be better than that. Any of that back line, I don't think really played as bad as they did even last season than they did on Saturday. Dion Conroy, I'm not going to pick up specific players. I'm saying Dion Conroy because he did just have a bad day for him. And when the captain on the ball is giving away a few opportunities, then yeah, it's always going to be a struggle. And I'm not calling Dion out for that sort of specifically. I'm using him as the sort of standard that is set, that on the ball he's usually really composed and good on it. And every ball just bounced against us, like you said, Louis. So really struggled with it. Really struggled, and it was a tough 10-minute rewatch before we came on to just refresh what happened on Saturday, because it was bad stuff all round. No one can walk off thinking, oh, well, that was a positive performance. So yeah, we've got, Scott and the guys have got a big week ahead of them, because Saturday can't be a repeat performance. Got to get points on the board early and get going, get that momentum going.
Yeah, go on, Louis. Talk about the penalty.
Well, before I come on to the penalty, I just kind of, off the back of what Luke said, you asked about any positives, and I do agree. Like, sort of, you mentioned the individuals, players like, and you said you won't dig out individuals. I'm more than happy to, because I was furious after that. I think there are certain players. You mentioned the back line. I think Josh Flint will look back at that and think, how have I put in a performance like that when he should be one of the best defenders in the league. I really do believe that. And the amount of times he got caught out on and off the ball was worrying. We know that Jay Williams can have a better game than that. Dion didn't cover himself in any glory, gave away a really good chance, sort of halfway through the first half, where he just dawdled on the ball after a throw-in and got caught. We were lucky not to concede. Harvey Davies, again, a young keeper. It's a really tough position for a young player to get the hang of, and it was never a penalty. So I'm going to come on to the penalty now. It was never a penalty, but at the same time, if he doesn't, he hesitates coming out. And I think if you're a keeper, that's the worst thing you can do. You either stay on your line, and I'm not an expert in goalkeeping, I'm by any means, but you can either stay on your line, or you commit and you come out and you make the striker or whoever's running through on goal, you make them commit to a decision. You have to be in control of the situation as much as you can. And he basically hesitated. And if he hadn't hesitated, he wouldn't have given away the penalty, because he would have made it. So that was really frustrating, even though it was never a penalty, and it's week one. I think penalty was given on 9-10 minutes. So I lasted about 9-10 minutes before swearing at a referee this season, which it's nice to be back. That's all I'll say about that. What's interesting is, on the referees, Scott was very clear in his post match that he can't talk about referees, and he won't talk about referees, which is we'll see how long that lasts. We'll take bets on how long he'll last before.
What we should say is, don't worry, Scott, we'll do it for you, mate. Don't worry about it.
I think it's very clear what he would have said if he wanted to. Yeah.
Me and Louis are on different opinions on this. Well, me as of about half an hour ago, where I think actually it probably was a penalty. So, where do you lie on it?
I think it's a difficult one. I think at the end, it's like with footballers. Like, if they were any good, they wouldn't be playing at this level. And I think
it's really harsh.
It's true though. Whenever I referee, my favourite line to say was like when people were blaming me. It's like, look, if I was any good, I wouldn't be refereeing you. I'd be in the Premier League. Which is fair. Fair comment.
And then you probably got lamped for it as well. I imagine a few times.
And some referees are always going to make mistakes, aren't they? You don't know what they can see. The camera is coming from a different angle, and I think over the course of the season, averages out. No referee goes down and is like, okay, I want Grimsby to win today.
No one wants Grimsby to win.
Exactly.
Especially,
I think it does even out.
Yeah, especially what I heard about them not allowing one of our little fans whose birthday was to be a mascot, because apparently they were like short-staffed or something, even though they had about 18 of their own mascots trudging onto the pitch. But that's another thing anyway. Yeah, it's terrible. I just want to pick up on the fact that some of the decisions confused me a little bit in terms of the lineup. I really think we've got to see some proper defensive wing backs come in the next. How long have we got left of the window? Is it September window this year? Is it end of August? Yeah.
September.
So we've got 4 weeks. We're clearly lacking out wide. Forster's gone off again. Don't know what that will do. But I think we're looking unbalanced, and we've got plenty of attacking options in the team, albeit it took an hour for us to have a shot on Saturday, so it didn't look like we had any attacking personnel on the pitch.
You can fool me.
But then we got to get something coming in wing back wise, like a proper wing back, 2 of them, one for each side minimum. If not, we sort of need 3 to sort of have cover. It's a bit worrying that sort of Papadopoulos has come on the pitch and had to play wing back for an hour. No Max Anderson really frustrated me. I'm a big fan of Max. It took me a while to grow to him last season, but then he had a real good run of games, sort of, I think, and then obviously culminated in the Charlton game, which really sort of raised eyebrows at what he could do. And he was pretty consistent after that. He was always sort of one of those who's putting in tackles in the midfield, and he was really good. And he can't get looking on. That's what
confuses me. Yeah,
and I don't get it, because I think he's probably up there as one of our best central midfielders, and maybe better than some of those who started based on Saturday's performance. And look, it's 1 90-minute game. We saw Max for the whole of last season, so it's maybe harsh to judge. But a bit confused by some of that, and also some of the omissions as well, who I didn't think Scott had said there were many, if any, injuries, and yet some players like Cashman were left out, unexplained, and so it's a bit of a curious weekend, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting looking at this, the wing-backs / wingers that we play this season compared to the season we got promoted. Because, I mean, the season we got promoted, we had Cerula and Gordon, who were pretty much defenders, but they had an attacking mindset. Whereas here, it seems like we've got attackers on the wings.
So we did last season as well.
Yeah. So it's interesting how Scott's kind of changed it up a bit. I mean, we did sign that Coty guy, who is an 18-year-old, just to make us all feel old. Ex-Spurs and Fulham Academy, played for Sutton Common Rovers. So just to judge what level of refereeing I got to, he was that level. And he played for us on trial when we played Palace. And so this is his first professional football game, and he came on and played, 12 minutes? Which is quite a big step for an 18-year-old who's never really never played professional, even really semi-professional, because Sutton Common Rovers probably train once, maybe even twice a week. That's it.
Yeah, and he was effectively our only sort of, I don't know what Flower's a striker, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or maybe a number 10, but a striker. So Coty is, I'm assuming, I don't know if he was brought in as a striker. I can't remember what they explained in the sort of article. A winger, so he's a winger. He was the only winger on the bench. We had Papadopoulos, Rolls, Watson, and Anderson, all central midfield. We had 4 central midfielders on the bench on Saturday. That's too many. We don't need that many. Plus, we had 4 central midfielders in the starting lineup in Holohan, Williams, Scott, and Brown. So it's just there's an imbalance in the team. And obviously, look, we're a small club. We have never been blessed with great numbers, and so to be blessed with that many central midfielders is good. But equally, does it show a sign that maybe actually there's a lack of trust in some of those that are there currently? I don't know, but I feel like we need to spread that out a bit. Maybe the midfield seems to be as deep as anything, but it doesn't help us because none of those central midfielders can realistically play anywhere other than central midfield. And then we're limiting to an 18-year-old making his debut when we're 3-0 down in a Football League match, our first match after being relegated, where there's going to be a lot of angry fans because we're 3-0 down, and a lot of fans who had gone into the game with expectation, albeit Grimsby were are highly touted to be up there this season. So yeah. Equally, they did us a solid only 14 months previously and bottled it against us on the final day and allowed us to get into the playoffs and have the best 4 weeks of our life. So in a way, I'm not really asked that we lost 3-0 to Grimsby. We sort of owed them one, really, and now we can really get on to the season starting come Saturday.
I think just off the back of the wing-back chat, and I do agree, I think we do definitely need one or two numbers out there. I don't think it helps that Pereira is out injured. Cashman, who looks to be like the Jeremy Kelly replacement on the left, kind of someone a bit more technical who kind of come inside. Adiemo injured as well. I think Adiemo was in with the fans on Saturday, I believe. I think Cashman, I know Scott explicitly said that only Pereira was injured, but I did see someone say that Cashman's got a back injury, which isn't ideal. So I think I don't think the numbers that we have out there are particularly, fill me with encouragement, because we spoke about this before the season. Forster's fitness issues have already come to the fore in terms of he's got injured in the first half. Adiemo's never been reliably fit. Cashman's now out with a back problem, it seems. Pereira has a bit of a spotty injury record from what I've seen, from what I've read. So we kind of got the numbers that we do have, and then we've got an 18-year-old who hasn't played professional football before. So it's kind of, people lamented the sort of data signing and the kind of what we ended up with in some areas. But this new approach has kind of led us to a similar position where we haven't really got much reliable quality or depth out wide at the moment. So
I disagree with you on that front. I disagree with you on that front on the basis that I think we've always had to rely on players who are struggling to find clubs elsewhere because of this.
That is the nature of where we are.
So you look at why was Tyrese John Jules a Crawley Town player? Because he had injury problems and couldn't, and also because he wasn't actually very good, it turned out. And there are others, like you said, Harry Forster, for example, has been with us now. Well, this is his third season with us, so he was signed under the data model, as was Adiemo, who's obviously had big injury problems last year, and Dion Conroy has equally sort of had those issues. So I see what you're saying. It does feel that way a bit at the moment, but I do equally think that those are the players we're going for because we are taking a risk that other clubs aren't to be able to try and bring in a better quality of player that we otherwise wouldn't be able to get if it was the equivalent in a fully fit footballer.
It is high risk, high reward, I think. Luke, what you said about the team selection confusing you a little bit, I agreed. I didn't understand why Holohan was starting necessarily, and especially as it was him and Shamanga leading the relatively non-existent press up front. And I kind of thought there's not really much physicality there. Shamanga looks a bit unfit, not particularly slow, but not particularly fast. He's never going to give defenders nightmares running in behind. Holohan is 33, so again he's past his sort of physical peak. A nice technical player, good on the ball, but not someone who is going to win you a lot of duels or outmuscle defenders or really cause panic, cause physical problems. So it seemed a bit of an odd one to me in that sense. And then, no Max Anderson, which really confused me because it seems like he would be a Scott Lindsay player. He's quite good on the ball, good energy, can run all day, gets stuck in, wins his duels. He's a manager's dream in that sense, especially at this level. And you have to wonder because I believe he started under Scott last season, the first few games. He kind of, from memory, he did. He
started from Blackpool. He started Blackpool last year, I think. Yeah, they started the first few games, yeah.
And so I don't really get it. Obviously, it's a long season. He probably will play games at some point. I imagine if he was someone who Scott didn't want, he would have been out the door by now because we would have been able to get some money for him. But I think the situation up front and out wide in terms of a bit of pacing behind and a bit of quality, I'm concerned, and I don't think the players that we've got out that they're going to come back in terms of Pereira, Cashman. How much do they change that? They're not necessarily players who are going to run in behind. I think you definitely need one or two additions who are going to give us a bit of physicality. Because if you look at the best teams up and down the Football League this season, they've all just got really physical, fast players up top who can cause you problems, and we don't have that at the moment. We had it before in Orsi, who was strong enough and relatively quick and could hold a ball up, could run the channels. I don't see Shamanga doing that. We haven't seen much of Flower in competitive football, so I'm not going to write him off. yeah, there's a lot of red flags, like I said the last couple of weeks, and within about the first 45 minutes of football, they all seem to come to life. The goalkeeper, we were exposed defensively, and we didn't really have much attacking threat, and which is odd to say for a Scott Lindsay side, but that's where we are at the moment. I no doubt we'll bring in 2 or 3 more players once we offloaded a couple. It'd be very weird if we went the next 4 weeks without doing any business whatsoever. But yeah, right now I don't think the squad has that much quality in the areas it needs.
So, kind of moving on now, on this Saturday we've got Newport at Broadfield Stadium. It's the first proper league game at our stadium. And Notts County drew 1-0 to Newport. And a number of people and predictions thought that Newport would be one of the relegation candidates. So, Louis, score predictions. Are you hopeful?
I think it'll be a low-scoring game. I think Newport. I had a quick look at our beloved FOTMob earlier when I was doing a bit of prep for the podcast. I had a look at the Newport v Notts County stats, and Newport had, I think off the top of my head, 36 or 38% possession. They were more than happy to give Notts County all of the ball. Notts County, obviously, a very possession-heavy side, as we ideally would be under Scott. And that was at home. So I think Newport are very much a side with low expectations this season who will just quite happily sit in deep. They'll try and hit you with set pieces. And again, that worries me because that's not something we dealt with particularly well on Saturday. It's not something we dealt with particularly well last season. I think they'll look to try and just contain us, let us have the ball, hit us on the break, play for set pieces. I can see it being a low-scoring game, 1-1 or 2-1 either way. If there's, I don't think it's a game where either team are going to be, you're not looking at it as one of your both teams to score or your Super 6 on Soccer Saturday. I don't think it's a game where there's going to be many chances, many goals. So yeah, and I don't think Notts County are particularly great either this season. I don't really fancy them. So the fact that Newport were happy to sit in against them, against a team that they probably should be looking to be a little bit more ambitious against at home. Maybe I'm underrating Notts County a little bit. But I think we'll have a lot of the ball, and I think it'll be quite a frustrating afternoon. I'll go 1-0.
Luke?
2-0 win. I look, for all the negativity that I've sort of for all the critique and concern I've raised, there's one thing for sure: this week is going to be a very different week to any other week of training that they've done in the last 6 weeks. It won't be a repeat performance. It's almost better to get it out. They've got it out of the system now. They understand what they're working with. Pre-season friendlies are all well and good, but they tell you nothing, and they're designed for fitness purposes ultimately. So I think we're going to come out. I think we'll win 2-0. Yeah, I don't see much from Newport. I'm sure they're probably saying the exact same thing about us, and that's the beauty of the early part of the season is you can do all the predicting and look at all the signings that every club have made and think that they'll be here, there, and everywhere. And a lot of the time, it turns out to be incorrect. So it's going to be a fascinating game. But I do think we'll win 2-0. I think some of the players will step up and show that they have got true quality. And we'll all be sitting here this time next week, being like, "Oh, what were we worried about? We won 5-0. We're fine." But I don't. I think we'll win 2-0. I think we'll come away at home, first game of the season. Hopefully sunshiny. I think there's meant to be a heat wave, so yeah, I think we'll get 3 points on Saturday.
Yeah, I'm hopeful. I think I'd be concerned if we didn't get anything from the game on Saturday. I know there'll be some people listening to this being like, "Why are we being so negative and stuff?" I don't think it's negativity per se. I think it's more that frustration. Like, we know that we can do better than losing to Grimsby 3-0.
If they think this is negative, they should see what X was like on Saturday and Sunday. That's for sure.
No one should look at my Twitter feed from the hours about 3 till 7 p.m. on Saturday.
Go on, I don't want to drinking. Jeepers.
I hadn't even had a beer at that point, believe me.
But we didn't have a bad pre-season, and people Scott Lindsay's very hot on running. And so it just seems very, very surprising the fact that a lot of complaints about Saturday were the fact that we just didn't seem bothered and weren't really putting much effort into it. So whether we are almost a bit too tired from pre-season, and it was a bit of a game against Grimsby away, which even if it was, say, in November, December time, you probably wouldn't really be expecting to come away with anything from it. So they did almost kind of throw it away a little bit to try and then concentrate on the 45 other cup finals that we've got. And as Scott also said, like, from the year we got promoted, we lost 6-0 to Swindon. Like, the way we play football can mean that we occasionally have these poor, dreadful games. And so it's definitely not a reason to completely rule out the season. We should start preparing for a national league, doing a national league tour. It's just more frustrating, and hopefully we can change it when we play Newport on Saturday.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine some of those players, like we said, they will step up. I think one of the positives I wrote down is that it can only get better. Like the performances, the results, like you don't get much worse than that. And just hopefully that's not a sign of things to come. Like we have to remember we won our opening day last year against Blackpool, who ended up finishing comfortably sort of mid-table. I think it might even finish 11th or 10th. I can't remember now. And we looked pretty good for the most part. And then we went to Wigan and we went to Cambridge, and we weren't great, but we won. But we didn't have a bad start to last season necessarily, performance-wise at least. So it doesn't necessarily mean a lot. And there are teams who, if you go back, there'll be teams who have had awful opening days who have gone on to have very good campaigns. So yeah, the only one of the big positives is that the standards has to rise now. And I think maybe it's a bit of a reality check for us. I think because there were some fans who thought we'd walk promotion or we'd be perhaps one of the teams up there. I think it's a bit of a reality check in terms of this is a really tough league. A team like Grimsby, they won't necessarily be top three. They'll be playoff contenders, and that's the level that we're up against. So we have to step up to that level. We have to compete physically, which I don't think we did, as we said. And yeah, we have to show that on Saturday. Like, Newport will not be a team that have great ambitions this season, and so we really have to raise our level. And yeah, we should be looking at a 2 or 3-0 win if we're a serious team this season. You have to wonder, will Scott make any changes? Like, that's a thought that I've had today. Is he going to make any changes to the midfield? Reece Brown wasn't actually one of the worst players on the pitch, to be fair, but wasn't hugely convinced by him. Kyle Scott came in with quite a lot of hype and seemed a little bit overawed by the situation to me. He kind of tried to make things happen, but it didn't quite come off. So I'll give him credit for that. He tried to make a few things happen, and he tried to bring the ball out of defence. He was the one sort of tasked with picking the ball up from deeper areas, and it didn't really work. I'd like to see Louis Watson start, maybe, if he's fit, because I think he's someone who can get us on the ball and get us going forward. Jay, you have to imagine, will be absolutely raring to kind of put things right, and you'd expect a better performance from him. So yeah, I just wonder, will Scott make any changes? Like, he kind of has to make 1 or 2 changes enforced by injury. And he's not necessarily the type of manager who will overreact and make 5 or 6 changes after a defeat. He might make a couple, he might make 2 or 3, but nothing more nothing more excessive than that, you would say.
No, you took the words out of my mouth, to be honest. I was going to say Scott isn't the type to go and make wholesale changes. So I'd be surprised if we see more than... I wouldn't even be surprised if it was just the Forster change, to be honest, if Forster's going to be out. Whether that's right or wrong, I think it's... Ultimately, we had a squad of 18 bad players on Saturday. No one. You could almost argue all 11 could change, and that would be deserving. That's how bad it was. Now, actually, that's probably the best thing that could happen, is that every player had an off day on the same day, because hopefully that's now out of everyone's system, and then next week they can all have 8, 9s out of 10 game, and suddenly, it's like when we played Northampton on our final home game of the season, sort of thing, where everything just clicked and we romped it. So it's. I think it'll be much alike. In a way, I think that the players, again, one league game shouldn't determine if you're out of the next game when it's only been one league game. If you've been in and out for a little while and you're having repeatedly bad games and then you come in and play badly and you're taken out, I get it. But if you just had one league game and no one's sort of done anything well, I wouldn't be like thoroughly hugely upset if it was nine of the same 11. But then if it goes wrong again on Saturday, then I think you can say there's been 2 games now where we've really struggled and things aren't looking positive. So then you question, well, okay, now what changes could we maybe see to impact things? But look, the players tried on Saturday, but everything failed to sort of weave together and work. So I think bad day in the office. I really just think it was a bad day in the office, compounded by the scoreline never helps. If we'd lost that 1-0 in the end, it's probably a slightly different. 3-0 is a battering on such a long away day on the first day of the season that I feel sorry for anyone who made that journey. But it is what it is. Bad day in the office. We go against Saturday, and I think we'll have a lot more to smile about on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, one positive actually is it can't get any worse. So
yeah.
We're already bottom, so it doesn't matter. Only way is up, baby.
Exactly.
As you said that, all I can think about is that Mick McCarthy line. It can.
Oh,
and, I mean, I think it... one thing I do wonder is, on top of the sort of on a similar note to will Scott make any changes? Are we going to see any, perhaps 1 or 2 incomings this week? It kind of seems to come out of nowhere these days. We haven't got Fabrizio Romano or David Ornstein reporting on us. So any signing kind of just... Sorry, go on.
It's a bit weird that Scott was like, we probably won't get anyone in ahead of Saturday's game. Then Saturday morning we announced the signing. So I wonder whether they weren't entirely sure if everything was going to go through and stuff. I should imagine the video Scott was probably recorded on Thursday, and they probably would have then travelled up on Friday.
It'd have had to be signed off before midday Friday, wouldn't it, to be eligible to play? So it's not like they got it over the line on Saturday. So maybe they did get it in time for Friday, and that was recorded within a 24-hour period. And obviously that's not, in theory, a lot of time to get these things done. I don't know. The thing is, let's not panic. Let's not now suddenly go into the market and think, oh God, we've lost 3-0. We need these players because we've got injuries or we haven't got these, and now we need to sign. Please don't do that. We saw it under the last ownership group, who name I'm going to try not to say because they're not here anymore. We've said their name more than any other word in the last 3 years. The old ownership group made mistake after mistake, and we're in a new era now where we lost the first game of the season. We're not sitting here in 31st of January where we're sort of in the bottom 2 and we're like, oh God, now we've got to get players in because it's do or die. We've got 45 league games plus, the obligatory cup games where we're going to go on a good cup run this year. So let's all just breathe and we'll be just fine. We'll be just fine. Maybe not the season. I don't think we'll have the season everyone maybe hoped we would, but I think we'll have a solid foundation year, and I think we'll slowly but surely get into gear, and I think that'll start on Saturday.
I do like your optimism. I don't think it would be necessarily panicking if we brought in 1 or 2 players this week, because I imagine it's players who we would have wanted to bring in anyway. I do think the performance and kind of the gaps in the squad that we've spoken about, it kind of just compounds the need to bring in those players, and so maybe there might be a little bit more urgency. But I don't think bringing in a couple of the players that in positions that we've spoken about would necessarily be panicking. But I do understand your point. There are 45 games to go. Whether it's going to be 45 games of a very, very long season, or it's going to fly by like it did a couple of years ago,
Never a dull season at Crawley, seemingly.
No.
Certainly in the last 3 years. It had been for a little while before then, but not in the last 3 years. And I mean, look, has anyone given Jed Brown a call? See if he's available still? I mean,
Don't even joke about it, lad.
We're going through a little sort of regurgitation of ex-players coming and going, so you never know. Maybe he's about. And Ronan Darcy's apparently available. I'd take him back, although he's another central midfielder we probably don't need. But still, you never know. Never know.
So, should we move away from the on-field stuff and talk about the much quieter off-the-field stuff that's been happening?
Yeah, has anything happened recently?
Well, that should be quite a quick one to go through this, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Just new owners.
Oh, yeah.
Really.
Get in!
I've never seen Luke so happy.
I've not celebrated like that since the 17th of May last year, mate, to be honest.
Somebody sent me a message being like, have you heard the news? Wagme have changed their name to Tag Me. They aren't going to make it.
Very good. And they definitely didn't make it in the end, did they?
So KB Sports and Leisure have acquired a controlling stake in Crawley Town Football Club. So headed up by Raf Khalili, alongside his brother Dan, Ryan Gilbert and Maxwell Stroman. They have taken full operational control of Crawley Town Football Club. And the ownership group is committed to driving the Red Devils forward, both on and off the pitch, with a focus on sustainable growth, fan engagement, and competitive ambition. They have got 6 pillars for their strategic approach. One is strong foundations and doing the basics right. 2 is infrastructure investment, so Broadfield Stadium, training facilities. 3, which is an interesting one, the data-driven football. 4 is financial discipline. 5, fan engagement. 6, cultural identity. And from the article, it seems like a number of changes have already taken place around stadium upgrades and detailing planning for the enhancement of a training ground facility and an early development of a long-term operational strategy built around performance, sustainability, and innovation. Thoughts?
So those are the right things. We've heard some of it before, some of it we've not heard before. I'm wholly positive. Okay, it's a new. We have no reason to be nervous at this stage. Okay, we are backed by individuals who seemingly have decent backing. Okay, now that obviously doesn't mean that we're going to be back in the stages of being called the Man City of League Two as we were in non-league all those years ago. However, hopefully it allows us a bit of breathing room. It's no secret that Wagme lost a hell of a lot of money, and look, the ownership. I still think the concern is the ownership is still maybe. I can't quite work it out because it still states Wagme United as shareholders on the website, for example. So whether that's still accurate or just not been updated, I don't know. So whether Wagme have fully gone, I don't know. However, their name seemingly now isn't above the door technically. So that's in a way positive. I just think that we can now breathe because I do think this is a positive step for the football club. I think it's what a lot of fans wanted. Some didn't necessarily want that, and some do still think that Wagme's approach was the right approach. Maybe in some instances they could argue that. I think in a lot of instances they cannot argue that. And I would happily sit down and have a conversation with anyone who thinks for either side, because all football fans are fickle at the end of the day. And we all seem to think we have the right opinion on things. But I'm optimistic. I don't know who Maxwell Stroman is. Never heard of him. Can't find anything out about him.
I think he's a Bond villain with a name like that.
Great way to endear yourself to the owners there, Louie, by calling one of them a Bond villain.
It's just an observation. If he does have a secret lair, then you know where I've ended up if you never hear from me again.
Look, and on a day where there's an ex-Football League club on the brink of going out of business in Morecambe, whose situation I couldn't see anything after 5 p.m. to confirm or deny what their situation is, whether they're still a football club or not. we should consider ourselves grateful that there are people willing to invest in Crawley Town and seemingly make a fist of it. So yeah, I'm not. When there's teams like Morecambe, who not so long ago we were playing and beating and losing to and drawing to, I'm going to sit here and take the fact that we've now got people, or we've still got people who are willing to invest money into our club and hopefully make it better for future generations, because we've seen or will see on Saturday, hopefully, new away fans. Finally, the new away fans, what do you call it? Fan zone, which will be good, hopefully, clearing out Reds bar a bit. For probably not good for Reds in terms of money, but equally allows home fans to get a drink quicker. But yeah, overall, for my monologue, I think it's positive, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the future now brings. I think we can all relax and breathe a bit after what's been, certainly the last 12 months have been a real slog. Feels more of a slog than the first 12 months did, in all honesty. But yeah, my 2 pence is I'm positive about it at this moment in time.
Yeah, I think it's hopefully a new chapter for the club. I think I was slightly concerned because all of them, apart from maybe Maxwell, were part of, in some shape or form, WAGME. And so I originally thought they were going to be kind of keeping the name WAGME and just changing like the internal structure of it. But I'm pleased they've kind of moved away from the name WAGME, because not just within Crawley, I think the whole football community that know about ownership and stuff, if they hear the name WAGME United, it's just a bit of a laughing stock. And so hopefully having new ownership, although they were still part of WAGME, would be a good kind of fresh start for the football club. It sounds like there's been some good plans. I'm looking forward to meeting the owners on Saturday before the game against Newport. And I think that's really, really encouraging that they are willing to meet me as a CTSA rep. And yeah, I mean, they speak a really good game. I thought the video was really, really good from Raf. I don't think you probably would ever get a video that professional from previous ownership groups. And yeah, but I mean, proof's going to be in the pudding really when it comes to how much of this is actually comes to life, how many of their promises they'll stick to. And because yeah, we heard last time, I think if anyone ever listened to Preston doing a fans forum or doing a video, it always sounded quite positive afterwards. But it's then actually in 2, 3, 4 weeks, months time, how much of that ever came to fruition?
None.
Probably not a lot. And we from the CTSA released something after the announcement of the changes in ownership group, that we would be we've got 4 strategic pillars. It seems to be the going thing at the moment. One, looking at governance and representation, so continuing to maintain structured dialogue with the club's leadership. Regulatory alignment, particularly with the Football Governance Act coming into play very shortly. Community and identity, so championing outreach and work to protect traditions that Crawley Town Football Club makes Crawley Town unique. And finally, oversight, advocacy and collaboration, so monitoring leadership decisions and holding them to account against this 6-pillar strategic plan that they've created themselves. And yeah, just trying to make Crawley Town as successful as possible. But yeah, hopefully it could potentially be exciting times ahead for Crawley Town Football Club. It's just hopefully we do a lot more talking on the pitch over the coming, in a good way, in the coming weeks and months.
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. It would be nice to see us just run more seriously, like a serious football club. You know, no YouTuber gimmicks, no NFT crypto nonsense. Just nice. It's just gonna be nice to see it just, yeah. I think the fact that there's a separation from the name and everything that was associated with the previous ownership, I think it's probably a positive move. It kind of signifies a bit of a clean break and a different direction strategically off the pitch. And over the summer, we've seen the improvements to the ground, to the stadium. There's been other little bits and pieces, a lot of sponsorship deals being made, which show that, which were things that weren't going to happen previously. And I think where I'm, we, like you say, we've seen owners talk a good game before and then not back it up with actions, and that's where I just want. I'm a little bit wary, purely because of that. It's not necessarily a reflection on the new guys in charge. I think they have to be given a chance to prove themselves and put their plans into action. But that's all like a judgment. They can speak well, they can talk a good game, but whether that translates into the off the pitch infrastructure improving, and hopefully there is the new away fan zone coming along. The stadium looks a lot nicer with a lick of paint, and then there's lots of other little bits and pieces that can be done. How it translates, how these kind of opening statements that they've made and these promises, how they translate into tangible improvements for the club on and off the pitch. That's where they'll be judged. And if you look at it in that sense, I think it's fair to say that the previous owners did do a lot of good at times, in very limited doses. But the promotion season was a culmination of good recruitment, both in the dugout and on the pitch. There were really good improvements for the season ticket prices and the fan zone behind the home end. There were good things that they did, but they were few and far between, and ultimately they were too few and far between. And that, coupled with the fact that they kept shooting themselves in the foot with fan relations and relations with groups that are elected to represent the fans, naming no names. They just didn't help themselves, and any good work they did do was not just undermined, but completely buried by stuff that they were just not getting right and getting spectacularly wrong. And so, yeah, it's good that they seem to be open to working with the CCSA and building a positive relationship. And so early on as well, like without really having to push for it on your end, Reuben. It seems like, from what you said, it seems like quite just something that's been kind of opened up to you, rather than you've had to really chase and get no response, which is good. It's just positive to see that they've actually made that kind of initial reaching out, so to speak. And yeah, hopefully we can have a relatively normal year off the pitch, at least, because I think after the last 2-3 years, we're all a little bit jaded by, as a football fan, you want to just be worried about what happens on a Saturday or a Tuesday night and where you are on the table, and you want to be, well, I say worried, you want to be that's what you want to be focused on, and you want to be excited about it. And it's difficult to get excited, and it's difficult to really enjoy and be proud about what's happening on the pitch when you're so jaded and kind of feeling let down by what's happening off the pitch. And I think we all know what I mean by that, in terms of how certain fans have been treated, how kind of the fan base as a whole was largely disregarded for long periods over the last 3 years. And so it's going to be nice to just kind of have that weight off our shoulders as fans and just try and hopefully enjoy what's going on the pitch.
I think that's fair. And I just want to add a couple of points. The last two owners have effectively said we want to get to the championship in X amount of time, and this is the first set of owners that haven't said that, which I actually quite like. So thank you for not promising to get us to the championship in 5 or 8 years' time or whatever.
We'll get to the Premier League.
Yeah, we're going to win it, baby. Taking the leaf out of Rob McElhenney's book. But so quite nice not to sort of just say flamboyantly that we're going to, take us here, which is wholly unrealistic. one of their pillars, that the financial discipline is a key one. Obviously, it's no secret how much money the club has been losing, and it's quite clear that the last ownership model didn't know how to stop that rot. And I think that's as bad as anything. It's great that they're willing to keep pumping in money, but they aren't seemingly sure how to stop having to pump in money. And maybe this ownership group will have a better idea on how to do so, and maybe a bit more frugal with it, which I think obviously no one wants to say that we don't want money pumped in, because obviously every club wants money pumped in to be able to buy the best players and have the best things and the shiniest toys, etc. But yeah, to have financial discipline is a whole different ballgame that not many clubs can master, and I don't expect this club, these owners, to be able to master that either. But what I do hope is that they can at least minimise the damages that the club are incurring season on season, because ultimately that only harms the club. If they're losing £1 million and that's having to be repaid in form of ownership loans, etc., etc. I've said etc. a lot in the last few sentences. And then fan engagement obviously is a huge one as well. Something which has to be at the forefront, and that's an easy win for them based on the last. You look back and there's multiple different fans forums, online spats, emails, phone calls, any form of communication of fan engagement. There'll have been some sort of negative connotation. So yeah, that should be an easy win for them. And also, just don't go and sit on the bench with the manager is another thing I'd just advise them not to do. If they can do those couple of things, they'll already be sort of winners versus owners.
There's easy wins there, isn't there?
Very
when
easy
you put
wins.
it that way.
Very easy wins. So they clearly, I think, have smart heads on their shoulders, and this is a bit more than a vanity project, hopefully. So yeah. We'll see. We will see. I could be eating my words in 6 months when we're 23rd in the league. Football, it's a stupid sport, and I will still be watching intently on Saturday and for the next 45 Saturdays to come. So yeah, let's all be a united Crawley, but not Crawley United, Crawley Town, and we'll all get there in the end. We'll all get there together.
You could say, Luke, you could say we're all going to make it.
We're all going to make it. That's what I was trying to get, actually. Yeah, but I'm much more positive this season, even though I think it's going to be a slog. Every season is supporting Crawley, whether we're the heights of 6th and chasing playoffs for the latter half of the season, or we're slugging out at the bottom third as we normally are. Let's all just let's enjoy it. Let's enjoy it, because there could be another day like we've had under previous owners of 20 years ago, or like Morecambe are having, or Bury. And so let's enjoy it while things are stable.
Yeah. And it's not like we could even turn to the English cricket team to cheer us up either after.
No, but that's a particular sore spot for me at the moment. As a massive cricket fan, I'd rather not talk about.
Well, me and Reuben were talking about chess before we started recording. That's how low we felt an hour and a bit ago. But,
I'm a real glutton for punishment. Crawley Town and England cricket, and it's
cricket in general. I just don't understand it. Why you could have just stopped at cricket? You didn't have to say England cricket, mate.
that's a discussion for another time, Luke. I'll educate you one day.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah. One last word on the owners from me before I shut up. And I'm kind of summing up everything that's been said, I suppose. But it's what I do like is that they're not trying to do something different. They're not coming in going, "Oh, we're going to do this. We're going to break the mold. We're going to reinvent how football clubs should be run, and we're going to, turn football ownership upside down." It's kind of alluding to what you said, Luke. They're coming in with quite sensible, level-headed ideas and an approach that doesn't make you go, "Oh, there's not going to be any headlines." Hopefully, touch wood. There's not going to be any,
Why did you have to say that? Why did you have to say that?
I know. I'm sorry. But do you remember when the previous owners came in and immediately there were headlines in The Athletic and in The Guardian and the national press just about a League Two football club has got a radical new approach to football ownership and how And there's not going to be any of that this time. It's just going to be, we're not going to be in the headlines for some wacky ideas about cryptocurrency or signing YouTubers, and I'm kind of repeating what I said earlier, but it's just going to be quite orthodox and quite normal, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, before we shut up shop, I'm going to ask you both a question. There was a thing on Twitter X I just saw about Chelsea's most recent signing being their 49th signing in the last 4 years.
Completely normal.
So I want you to guess bonus point if you guess who our 49th most recent signing was. But I'll let you get away with the year/season.
Are we including loan signings? Is this permanent signings only?
It's probably as well.
Because I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's that long ago. I think it's like
No,
20.
I agree. I reckon it's.
I think it could be. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it's.
So the question that was asked.
I'm going to go Dom Telford, just as a guess.
Twitter, ChatGPT, Elon Musk, was who did Crawley Town sign 49 signings ago? That's the question.
Okay,
I know Man United was under Herrera in 2014, if that helps.
Wow,
Which is mental.
I think it was 2 seasons ago, judging just by how much.
True.
Yeah, just think about the squad turnover like the last couple of summers.
Okay.
Maybe I'm going a bit.
I was going to say season before that. Okay, you go.
I don't think it's going to be much later than January 2023. Like I think it's January 2023 or the summer 2023. So I'm torn between saying like Ben Gladwin and Danilo Orsi, and I'm going to go 49 signings ago. If we're including loan signings, Ben Gladwin.
Does it matter if you're including loan signings?
Well, yeah, because we signed a few loan players. I'm taking it seriously. I'm giving this question, this little quiz, the respect it deserves.
I'm going to say.
Are you counting?
No, I'm not counting.
It looks like he is.
I know the season. I'm in the 21-22 season. I'm seeing who we signed that summer, the summer of 2021. That's what I'm going through. I'm going to say 49 signings ago would be. I'm stuck between Aramide Otter or Joel Lynch. So I'm going to go Aramide Otte, whatever you have it on from the 3rd. Oh, he's actually 3rd of February 2022. I didn't realise. Yeah, I'll go for that.
No, both wrong. Ade
Oh, whoa, jeepers! What?
I was kind of right. I was on the right lines. I'm actually
insane, though, isn't it?
I am. Sorry, once I get my head around how pleased I am with my logic and getting fairly close to the answer.
That's shocking. That's terrible.
That kind of shows.
Terrible.
It kind of shows.
Not the signing, man. I don't say the signing. 49 signings ago being 2 years is absolutely despicable. And
it just made sense in my head. I was like, there was such a massive squad turnover for 2 summers in a row. It wasn't just last summer; it was the summer before where we got rid of the squad that nearly got relegated and brought in, the Wembley team, if we're going to call them that. And that is, we make Chelsea look like a relative beacon of stability.
Well, one of those was from Chelsea and Eddie Beach, obviously. So,
of course, yeah.
That's the only one. I was going to say Mitch Beanie as well. Wasn't he from Chelsea? But that was long before our 49th signing. That's probably 150.
Mitch Beanie, that is a name you didn't think I'd hear again.
I'm a haven for terrible Crawley goalkeepers.
That's what we should do one podcast, just go through the players that have played for us over the past 15 years.
There's that tweet that goes around sometimes, and it's like, oh, guys can have a great time just sitting with a beer and naming random sports players. We just do that, but with Crawley players.
God.
And you would literally
the most random Crawley player. Yeah.
I reckon it's just a great pub game. Who just name a Crawley player just see who can get the most obscure one.
Rene Gilmartin.
Oh, don't.
No, don't.
Nightmares.
I remember that. Was his debut against Stoke in the FA Cup? Was
I
that
think
him?
so.
Something like that,
God,
yeah.
that was
Yeah, it was, yeah. That was a sign that nearly derailed our promotion that season, if I remember.
Yeah, one of the few that.
I'm going to raise you Lee Fowler.
Lee Fowler, classic.
Score of one of the cleanest volleys you'll ever see at the Bruce Winfield end.
Was it against Preston?
It was, yeah. We beat Preston, who eventually got promoted. I think it was like 5-1 or something. Or was that Barnsley?
No, that was Barnsley. We beat Preston 2-1. That was a tight game. That was a last-minute winner, wasn't it? That Fowler won.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Preston game? We've come really off topic. Sorry, themselves. Wasn't that Preston game?
Guys, it's not even here anymore. Can we stop talking about Preston?
Sorry. Wasn't that North End game the game where Lewis Young played right back?
Oh, do you know what? That is a really good bit of obscure knowledge. If so, we'll have to find out. But yeah, I reckon. Yeah, if you go back throughout,
right back. He was always right back, wasn't he?
No.
Was he a winger?
I feel like he played as a winger a few times.
Dean Saunders' first game as Crawley Town manager was when he led the team to a 2-1 victory with Preston North End. He was scoring and Lewis Young being placed at right back.
I was at a golf day recently, and Dean Saunders was there with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy, and he was clearly clearly had a few bevies, and I didn't have the ball. He was doing his post beer speaking in the afternoon, and he didn't go any more questions, and I didn't quite have the balls to be. What was it like managing Crawley Town during that period in a room full of blokes who clearly couldn't tell you either where Crawley is or were clearly probably all Chelsea, West Ham, and fans of Premier League only teams. And to be fair, he probably doesn't remember managing Crawley because he's probably drunk a lot of alcohol since then.
Well, he got banned from driving, didn't he?
Yeah, was that not because he went to the Euros and parked his car in Gatwick Airport or something and didn't pay the charges for it? There was something.
To be fair, I don't blame them. They are extortionate. Not that I don't ever advocate for breaking the law, but you know.
Yeah. So that's my claim to fame. I would have loved to have asked Dean Saunders about managing Crawley during that period, but
so was it Dean Saunders, Jason Cundy, and
Jamie O'Hara?
Oh, it's the most talkSPORT lineup ever.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah. I think they wanted to get Alan Brazil, but I don't think he plays golf, so he was probably wouldn't have quite made it to the right time. But
he can't really manoeuvre himself around the course very well, I'd imagine.
Shall we just? I appreciate we've gone so far off topic. It's outrageous.
Yeah,
that's why I'm losing Freedom Dusty on the first day of the season. That's why I'm losing Freedom Dusty. We should probably just say congratulations to Tom Allman.
Absolutely. Sorry, in all the chat about the new owners, we actually forgot that we've got a new CEO as well.
I just thought it'd be a bit harsh of us to go and say bye everyone, and then suddenly we're forgetting that Tom Allman's probably now
got the article up on my computer right now.
One of the most important positions in the football club. And to be fair to him, he's probably been doing that role for the last few years. And so it's sort of an official taking of the title. And you know, obviously, good luck to him. And it's there's an element of obviously everyone wants to see him do well, and I think it's a really good appointment. And in a positive way, it's a safe appointment because we've seen it before. And I said in the group chat the other day, I've already forgotten his name again. The fella who came in under Wagme and lasted mere months as director of football. Yeah, him.
Chris Galley.
Your friend suggestions on Snapchat and Facebook, Reuben. But you know, having Tom steer the ship is a real positive, and so someone who you cut open and bleeds red and tridents and whatever other else they're associated with Crawley. It's real positive. So fantastic that that's over the line and come in at the same time.
Yeah. It's reassuring that someone who has been at the club for such a long time, knows the club inside out, and on top of that has, without question, has the club's best interests at heart. Is in the most important role of the day-to-day running of the club. Like it's, you know, there might be mistakes made. He's probably got some stuff to learn. But like you say, Luke, he's been so heavily involved in the day-to-day running of the club anyway. There's probably very little that that's going to surprise him in the role. So, and it's just, I think, a very sensible, level-headed move from the new ownership to put someone who knows the club inside out, who knows everyone at the club, who knows what the issues are with the club and where the club can improve. Just, very, very sensible and very reassuring. It's a reassuring appointment, and I think as we said, after the last 3 years, that's quite welcome, to be fair.
What I would just say is, just to jump in before Reuben finishes off, is hopefully, we know he's almost been doing a role like that for the last few years, and now it's like he's now officially CEO. Hopefully, this is also a case. It's probably evident that he's not been allowed to have the reins of a CEO. He's probably, under Wagme's ownership, had to do roles are many, not just that of sort of general manager / CEO. So hopefully now he can fully focus on that role given to him by the ownership, and the ownership can help him be that CEO that I think the club desperately needs to be taken forward. So I think this is a positive, and the fact it's happening under different ownership and not under the ownership of the past, where clearly they couldn't give him the reins of being just a focus on that CEO role. Hopefully that will benefit him and the club in the long term as well.
No, 100%. And I like on the article about him, he says how this is more than just a job for me, it's a personal commitment. I'll do everything I can to repay the faith that has been placed in me. So Tom, we wish you all the best of luck
Absolutely.
in your new role. I know you've got all the fans behind you if you're listening to this. And yeah, good luck. Also worth saying, hi, Scott Lindsay. I know in your most recent interview you said you watch YouTube. So hopefully you're watching us on YouTube.
Or hopefully not today's episode. I mean, I know. Yeah, I'm slightly nervous now. If he is listening to this, he's gonna be listening to this thinking, "What are these lot talking about?" So yeah, maybe he doesn't listen. Maybe he's listened once before and gone, "Do you know what? Nah, not for me." These clowns don't know what they're talking about. Scott, if you are listening, yeah, he would probably be right. Yeah.
What we need to do is, very quickly before we wrap up, is we probably need to think of a bet to make for this season, because it's quite sad I never got a picture of Preston, albeit I never spoke too highly of him, admittedly, but I have got his beard tattooed on my leg, which... So maybe we need to think of a Simply Reds deal bet for the season. If we get promoted, the three of us need to get a tattoo of something, and maybe we need to leave the listeners to decide what we get. I'm thinking Tom Orman's beard, so I can have one on the inside and the outside of my ankle, and hopefully he lasts longer than Preston did since I got it. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Right, okay. I'll put something on Twitter once this comes out to get people to ask for suggestions.
Because we never got the Will Swan one for Louis.
No,
or the Ronan Darcy one actually for Reuben. So we're all about making bets and tattoos on this podcast, so we've got to keep that tradition going.
That's one of the few bets I've ever made that's actually come off. So I'm kind of reluctant to chance my luck with any more. But yeah, we'll see what the listeners come up with. If we get
a head banner, and it's like
yes, there we go.
What, a tattoo of a head banner?
Yeah.
No,
what tattooed round? Nah.
Not on my forehead. Jesus. My forehead. I know I've got a big forehead, but not even that.
Yeah,
that's a monster. That is.
I'm not sure my girlfriend would. I'm not sure I still have a girlfriend if I did that. I think she would very swiftly break up with me, and she's not listening to this probably. So
put a ring on it, mate. It makes it a lot harder for them to break up with you. Let me tell you that. I know from experience, having got the Preston one on my leg. I was already married, so it doesn't matter. God, this podcast is taking a real turn for the worse.
Yeah, we've gone very off the rails the last 10-12 minutes.
Thanks very much, Louie and Luke, for joining me on this
pleasure as always
episode, and we'll catch you all at hopefully Newport. So come on, you Reds!
Viva la Reds!
Come on, you Reds!